So, Jonathan Majors. I think this was kind of obvious as far as the outcome. Personally, we've seen he's basically just been Johnny Depp. There's no way for me to say this. You know, it just is what it is. I think this was a lot worse because there was so much evidence that came out to prove that Jonathan Majors was innocent. He was found guilty pretty much on the recklessness, like literally. Him trying to, keep her from harming him and herself. He was found guilty on the charge of that reckless act. And already seen, I don't even need to see any articles because I pretty much know how they're going to spin this. Like, it's just crazy to me personally. Like, I don't know how else I can react, like personally. Like, this whole situation has pretty much spiraled in the exact way how you might have thought. This black man was found guilty, and the articles all over the place. Pretty much you can guess what they're saying right now. He was found guilty on abuse and all of these things. And again, she has a record of abusing alcohol. She, bro, it's just crazy, bro. Like, out of all things, out of all people. Like, this man has been like openly, just like outwardly perceived as a good, genuine person. And again, I don't have no real bias towards anyone in this situation. I personally don't care what color skin you are, what you choose to date. But the online discourse has been hilarious. Personally, you have black women saying this is what happens when you date these type of women. This is what happens when you swim in the milk, essentially. And this is what he deserves. Not all black women, of course, but you can pretty much guess the usual suspects when it comes to this type of topic, in this topic specifically. I'm sure Dr. Umar is going to tear this one to shreds. I just think it's funny. The memes are going to be exquisite. That's for one. In a serious note, I think this is the purest example of the fact that as a man, there is no way you can protect yourself in these situations as a man. I don't think this is racially charged. I think for the most part, this is just a woman taking advantage of how society and how the court systems have a bias towards women and against men. I think for the most part, society has overly corrected itself when it comes to equality, and this is not even equality anymore. This is just pure bias. Because so much physical evidence came out. So many witnesses came out to speak against this woman. And all of it meant nothing. It meant nothing in the grand scheme of it all. I think for the most part, men, you have to be extra careful when it comes to your involvement with other women, regardless of race. Because I've seen examples of this in my previous jobs. I've seen women of all races. Specifically, there was a black woman assaulting a black man, like straight up just assaulting him on camera. And when I was going to call the police, she looked at me with pride and literally said, go ahead and call them. She knew what was going to happen. And I think it's very interesting that for the most part, that people are surprised. Like, I think some small part of me knew exactly that this was going to happen. There was really no hope in my eyes that Jonathan Majors was going to be innocent. Now, of course, I knew he was innocent. Anyone who was not blind could see that this man was innocent. Again, not even on a bias, just for the sheer fact of the evidence just obviously showed that this man didn't do it. This man was an innocent man, and of course, a good man has to suffer in this case for the sake of political correctness. This man has lost his Marvel roles and most likely will lose every other role that he has had secretly and publicly announced. So, all that being said, a good man has to pay the price for a flawed society. Personally, this is nothing new to me. I knew this was going to happen. I pretty much knew it. There was no doubt in my mind that this would happen. And personally, I'm sorry for Jonathan Majors. I'm sorry for his family and everyone who is connected to him in a positive way. My heart goes out to y'all. Truly it does. For those who know his true character, I'm sure this must suck. I know it does. It's not the greatest feeling in the world to see this situation unfold for you and for the people involved. And to the court system, obviously this was to be expected. But I really think the law has failed this black man. Not to just make it about race, but obviously the perception, it's kind of hard to ignore the racial perception of the situation. It's everywhere now. So yeah, at the end of the day, it sucks for Jonathan Majors. It sucks for his fans. Sucks for his family. For men in general, it's even worse because now you have to be even more careful when even just trying to make sure you keep your inebriated woman safe. And when it comes down to it, just be careful. More importantly, be mindful of the women that you approach. Be mindful of the women that you involve in your life. If you're a man of high status, if you're a man who has anything to lose at all, just be mindful of who you give yourself to. Be mindful of who you approach and all of those things. And honestly, good luck. And again, may God be with us all, because in these trying times, that is all who we can rely on.